Happy Mailbag Friday here at Locked On Braves. Got a lot of questions to get into on today's episode, including was the drama necessary between Orlando Arcia and Bryce Harper, or should it have ended? And what is the optimal lineup for this team, not just the rest of 2024, but in 2025 as well? I'll answer those questions and many more on today's Locked On episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. Follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Follow the podcast at LockedOn_Braves, where you can submit your questions to be answered on our weekly mailbag episode, which is what we'll be doing today. If you're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you already have, hit that thumbs up button as well, so others can find us here at Locked On Braves. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below, especially if you're an everydayer. Let me know down there, or if you make us your first listen of each and every day. Thank you so much for that. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It is our Friday mailbag episode. Again, I got about 20 questions or so to get to from a wide range of questions, but several of them surrounding Orlando Arcia and the drama, I guess, that was caused. We'll talk about that. Also, a lot of you want to know if Jason Heyward makes sense for this team. Obviously, right now, anybody that gets dropped with the deficiencies that the Braves have, everybody's wondering if that player is a fit, and Heyward obviously being familiar with the Atlanta Braves and to the Braves fan base. But we'll discuss that and again answer a lot more questions on today's mailbag episode. Before we do that, though, SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. All right, let's jump into these questions because, again, I got a lot to get to. Want to make sure that I get to as many as I can. We'll kick it off with Julie Craig, who says, of the new Braves players that they've acquired, are there any that you think the Braves will keep for 2025? So this is a good question here. And the one that I look at immediately that I would just, and I'm assuming we're just talking about players that have been acquired during the 2025 season or 2024 season for 2025. The name that jumps out to me immediately is Whit Merrifield. He is a guy that I would love to have back. It's a guy that I wanted this last offseason, and the Braves have some control over him. It is a $8 million team option for 2025 with a $1 million buyout. That's probably a little bit more. When I was talking about getting him last offseason, I was hoping, maybe $5 million or less. So that might be a little bit too expensive. But I just love what Whit can do for your team. A guy who, if you have a big injury, he can fill in for a while and play really good. And it's not, such a big drop off. So I love Whit Merrifield. I would love to be able to keep him around. One thing we have to keep in mind, and we'll get into this more once we talk about the offseason, which will hopefully be a while. Are the Braves going to try to get back under the luxury tax? It would be their third year in a row if they go over it again next year. And when that happens, the penalties are much higher. So that's a big question that we don't know, but it's something I think we certainly have to think about. Some of these other guys, Ramon Laureano, he's still under arbitration, although he's going to make probably $6 million. He made $5.15 million this past year in arbitration. Do the Braves pay that? We'll see. It could be a lot for somebody who, if everybody's healthy, is probably a 4th, 5th outfielder on your team. Some of the other guys, Luke Jackson, he has a $7 million team option with a $2 million buyout. I would imagine that one's not going to be picked up. Jorge Soler, he's already under contract. He's getting a guaranteed $16 million, so he'll be back next year unless the Braves, find a way to move him. And Gio Urshela is a free agent after the season. So the one, again, that I think they could definitely look to bring back would be Whit Merrifield, but an $8 million team option, that is pretty expensive. But he is the guy that I would want to see back. Isaac Zelser says, where is Cam Caminiti? I looked back and saw that Owen Murphy had a few starts after being drafted in 2022. Why haven't we seen him yet? Sometimes those high school pitchers, they'll wait until like the last week or two of the minor league season just to give them like 10 innings. And I didn't look it up, but I would imagine that's probably what we saw for Owen Murphy and J.R. Ritchie. They're probably not going to throw more than 10 innings, if anything. So I would imagine that's probably going to be the case with Cam Caminiti. They're probably just getting their first look at him right now, working on some mechanical things, just talking, getting to know him a little bit better. But I wouldn't be surprised we see him pitch, make a couple starts at the end of the minor league season. Another one from Isaac: is Jason Heyward a better option than Ramon Laureano or Luke Williams? Definitely not Ramon Laureano, who's been great for the Braves. Maybe over Luke Williams, but Luke Williams, they have him as the infield backup too, and just kind of that utility guy. So I don't think he's better than either of those guys. Coach Gordon Bombay: the Braves farm system doesn't get a lot of credit, yet here are Schwellenbach and Grant Holmes. What's your realistic take on it? I feel like in 2 to 3 years, we should have some of the best young pitchers in baseball. The Braves talent development system is great at developing pitchers. That's been proven. And that's what they continue to target in the draft. It's why I keep saying that's what they should continue to do, because everybody needs pitching. And you know what helps with every position player at the big league level is pretty much accounted for at the moment. But everybody needs pitching. You need pitching, and you need to continue to develop it and churn it out. You see how many arms you need in a season. And the Braves have done a better job, or as good a job as any. I can't speak for other the 29 teams, but I know the Braves have done a fantastic job themselves of developing arm talent. And look, I don't national rankings, talked about it the other day. MLB Pipeline didn't have a single Braves player in their top 100. That's fine. Do the Braves have really good prospects littered throughout their system? Yes, absolutely. And so I'm not worried about it. Again, I can't speak for the other 29 teams because I only really follow the Braves and their farm system. But I think there's a lot of good talent in there. And I think the Braves do a fantastic job developing pitching talent. The thing is, they get that talent up and they quickly graduate. They don't have time to get on some of these national prospect rankings, but by the time everybody notices them, they're at the big league level. And in the case of A.J. Smith-Shawver and Hurston Waldrop, I think they got rushed up so quick and struggled so much that now they've kind of lost some of that luster as prospects, and that's hurting some of their prospect rankings. So again, I'm not worried about the Braves farm system. They continue, as you said, to churn out good arms and good talent. AA Alex: would you call up Ian Anderson or A.J. Smith-Shawver for some bullpen depth down the stretch, or do you think they probably won't see the majors this season unless there's another injury to the rotation? I would not be surprised if we see both or either of those guys the rest of the way, and maybe not necessarily in a bullpen situation, although I've speculated for a while now that I think that makes a lot of sense for A.J. Smith-Shawver, a guy who can get to high velocities in short stints. We've seen it happen at the beginning of games, and then he kind of loses that. But you give him a 1-2 inning stretch, A.J. Smith-Shawver, and that fastball plays up. And he had a good outing last time out. He's been better his past couple of starts now. You do that in a bullpen role, I think that could be a real weapon for this Braves team. So he is certainly somebody that I think we could see in the bullpen towards the end of the year. I'm talking about, September down the stretch, to see if maybe he's got a chance if the Braves make the postseason. I have to continue to say that now and preface that. I think he could be a really dynamite arm out of the bullpen. Ian, I think he's the next call up if there is an injury in the rotation, or perhaps they want to, skip Schwellenbach and try to manage his innings, or they think there's a time in the schedule where he can come up against maybe a soft opponent to get a start. I think Ian Anderson's probably the next guy up to make that start. Jason Flake: do you see Jason Heyward as an upgrade or someone the Braves will be interested in? I don't really. I don't think there's going to be any interest in Jason Heyward. You look at the outfield situation right now, Jorge Soler could be coming back, and then you already have Michael Harris in center, and then you have Kelenic and Ramon Laureano as a good platoon situation in left field. Adam Duvall would be the only other one, and you're asking me this after a game when Adam Duvall basically won it offensively for the Braves. So I don't, unless you just really wanted a left-handed bat who can play great defense, which is not bad. I'd rather have a left-handed bat off the bench, because there are going to be more situations where you need a left-handed bat than I would a right-handed bat in Adam Duvall. And if Laureano has supplanted Adam Duvall as that right-handed platoon partner with Kelenic, which I think he has, then yeah, maybe Heyward makes some sense. But I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think it's that much of a look. Getting Gio Urshela made a ton of sense in the world. Getting Jason Heyward, I don't think it's a slam dunk like that. Could it help? Yeah, maybe, but I don't I don't think so. Manuel Gonzalez has another similar question. Heyward is actually around 40 points better than Duvall and better defense. Maybe an option. But again, I get that, and it's possible. But you're talking about your fifth guy on the bench now, because he'd be behind Soler, he'd be behind Harris, he'd be behind Kelenic, he'd be behind Laureano. Maybe he wouldn't be behind Kelenic. I don't know. Although I think Kelnic's had some better at-bats lately. I just don't see it as a slam dunk upgrade to go out and get Jason Heyward. But let me know your comments down below. Do you think the Braves should go after Heyward, and who does he replace? Does he replace Adam Duvall? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. All right, we'll get to some more questions next, including the drama between Arcia and the Phillies. Is it necessary? Should we just let it go at this point? I'll answer that and more here next. What is your cold beverage of choice, or at the ballpark when you go there? For me, I don't drink, but I love to go get something cold when I'm on a hot day at the ballpark. I love to go after that soft serve ice cream. But I'll tell you what, after now having the chance to try Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor, I mean, that's the best place to go if you need some hydration on a hot summer day. Drinking it, I just feel like I'm poolside. Sipping on a popsicle is what my kids said it tasted like. They said they're just drinking a popsicle. It tastes so good. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powered hydration brand in America. It's simple. All you do is tear, pour, and live more with one stick plus 16 ounces of water that hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use our code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 tops brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen of the day. Make your second listen to Locked On MLB podcast, where host Paul Sullivan's getting you ready for the postseason picture down the stretch. I love this time of year for Major League Baseball. It really is unfortunate that it lines up with some other sports, mainly football. But this is a great time of the year to be a baseball fan. So much pennant races happening down the stretch here the last month and a half. And you can get all of that over on Locked On MLB. You can find that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This will be our last episode of the week. Obviously, we'll have a postcast on Friday night with me and Grant, as well as on Sunday. And I'll have some shorts coming for you on YouTube as well over the weekend series. Then we'll be back on Monday, capping everything happening from the weekend and at the minor league level. Let's jump back into the questions here. Dustin Mount says, when Ozzie comes back, what would you do with Whit Merrifield? Maybe outfield and drop an outfielder. I mean, we're a good ways from that. A lot can happen between now and then. It'd be hard to take Whit out of the lineup. I'm not going to lie. He's played really well, does a good job putting the bat on the ball. He's got some speed that this lineup desperately needs. I don't know that you play him in the outfield over a Kelenic or a Laureano out there. And as good as Urshela looks over there defensively, at least at third base, I don't know that he plays over him either. Look, when Ozzie comes back, he's going to play second. That's what's going to happen. But Whit has certainly opened up some eyes, and he certainly shown that he, is deserving of some more opportunities. But I think, again, a lot can happen. We don't know. We're hoping that Ozzy's back in the first week or two of September. That's not a given. But I do think Witt's probably pushed back to the bench. I think just depending on what happens between now and there, look, if Laureano cools off, if Kelnick can't get hot, then yeah, maybe you look to play him in the outfield. It all probably just depends on who's hot at that moment, whenever Ozzy is ready to come back. Jason Flake, do you think the feud with Arcia and the Phillies is overblown? Think this is his last year in Atlanta? I do not think this is Arcia's last year in Atlanta. Look, even if they decided to try to make an upgrade at shortstop next year, he's still making $2 million a year. Like, that is really good. When they signed that deal, they signed him, I think, to be a really good bench utility player. I don't think they envisioned him suddenly becoming their starting shortstop. So you're talking about a guy who's still just making $2 million, that even if the Braves wanted to go out and upgrade at shortstop, Arcia would be great depth for your team. So I don't think he's done in Atlanta. Do I think this feud is overblown? Yeah, but that's just what the media is going to do. I mean, call it whatever you want, but for the media, for people who are going to eat this stuff up, that's big. I mean, it's why Jake Mintz, who I've had on the show a couple of times, reported it. He goes into a clubhouse, he hears Arcia saying some, I don't even say odd. It's just probably what the Phillies are doing in the other locker room. They're just making sure there's no reporters around when they're saying it. And he reported on it because he knew that headline, that quote, was going to catch a lot of attention. And look, that's nothing against Jake. It's just Arcia has to be smarter and know his surroundings and know what you can and can't say when reporters are in the room. But it is overblown. I mean, it should not be as big of a deal as the media makes it to be. It should be done and over with. Look, Harper responded. Phillies won that series. They took care of business. It should have been over. What should have happened originally is the Braves should have owned up to it, said, yeah, we were excited. We said that, it was a big game. It was a big moment. That's what it is. I didn't mean any harm by it or anything like that. Instead, they were like, oh, you weren't supposed to hear that. And Arcia kind of did the same thing this time after he stared him down. He was like, oh, it was said in the locker room, I feel like I should be able to say what I want in there. And it's just like, own up to it. You said it. It was an exciting play. It was an exciting moment. The way he handled it afterwards, and I've said this several times now, so I don't want to repeat myself because we have a lot of questions to get to. The way he reacted to it in the moment in the postseason was terrible, acting childish, sticking his tongue out at the fans, and just it clearly got in his head. And it shouldn't have. This should have been nothing. You should have just owned up to it, said, yeah, I did it. Didn't realize other reporters were in there. Other people were listening. We were just having fun in the moment. Didn't mean anything by it. Move on. And, now here we are almost a year later. We're still talking about it. He obviously is still thinking about it. I feel like just move on at this point. You should have moved on already. And now he's added to it and kind of sparked it back up. And now we're going to go to Philadelphia, where I almost guarantee you Harper's going to hit a home run and he's going to stare down Orlando Arcia. So even though he said in his comment that he doesn't care, he already did that and sounded like he moved on. But you know anything about Bryce Harper, he's not going to let that go. And Bryce Harper's going to hit more home runs than Orlando Arcia is going forward. I can guarantee you that. Our theme to life, what's your projected lineup, bench, and rotation for 2025? We're moving on from 2024 already. That's a lot to get into. We'll obviously have an entire offseason to get into that. The lineup, I don't think is going to change much. I don't think you're going to see major shakeup in this roster in the offseason. I think it's going to be Murphy and d'Arnaud behind the plate. It's going to be Olsen, Ozzy, Riley, probably Orlando Arcia, and then it's going to be Harris and Acuna in the outfield, and Soler with Kelnick. I really think the position players are going to be the same. The rotation could be very different, obviously, with the loss of Max Fried and Charlie Morton, but you feel much better about it with Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach at the top of that, and, maybe an Ian Anderson, something like that. So, I think there are options in the rotation as well, but again, we'll get into all that in the offseason. Matt Cox, any chance they sign Heyward and cut Duvall? We already talked about that. I don't think so. Ron Stevens, same question. Do you think the Braves will pick up Jason Heyward? I don't. I just really don't think it's that much of an upgrade to go get Jason Heyward. Roger Peterson, think Holton and Caminiti get a few weeks in August. I do kind of touched on that earlier as well. Again, for those, especially for the younger pitchers, I'm a little surprised maybe Holton didn't get any, but he's had so many college innings that maybe they don't want to push him. But for the high school guys especially, they tend to wait until that last week or so of the minor league season, which I guess we're getting close on. So hopefully we do see them in the next week or two. Emmanuel, has Spencer Schwellenbach done enough to earn some Rookie of the Year votes? I would say yes, but I feel like it is the same story as Ozuna going against Ohtani, the players who've been most valuable to their team against the league's Golden Boys. This coming from a biased Braves fan. Look, the NL Cy Young or the NL Rookie of the Year is going to come down to Paul Skeens and Jackson Merrill, and I think it's going to be Paul Skeens as long as Pirates continue to throw him out there. But Schwellenbach does deserve some consideration. I don't know that he'll reach the top 3 and be a finalist. There's a lot of good rookies this year. Shoti Managa for the Cubs is technically a rookie. He has had a great season. When I looked on FanDuel yesterday, they did not have Spencer Schwellenbach in their top 7 for NL Rookie of the Year odds. Haven't looked at that today after Schwellenbach's good start that he had last night. I think he's one of the better rookies this season. His numbers maybe don't reflect that quite as much because he had some shaky starts early on, but I certainly think he's been one of the better rookies that we've seen this year, and is going to be one of the better players, better rookies from this season, I think, going forward. Leland Hurd, hey Jake, who do we have available to play first if Olsen were to get hurt? Do we see Ozuna? I mean, I don't know why you would speak that into existence, Leland, with all the injuries we've had, although I know there are some people out there that actually hoping that Olsen gets hurt and the Braves replace him. I think that's ridiculous. But, I mean, if it comes to that point, I don't know. You do just throw your hands up in the air and just go with it. But maybe they do try Ozuna. I mean, I think that would probably be what you have to do. I don't really know who else. There's not really anybody else. Yuli Gurriel, that's the other guy. Yuli Gurriel, he's played a lot of first base at Gwinnett this year, so that would probably be the guy. And then number 2 from Leland, Schwellenbach and Holmes are spectacular. Do you think the team will hold on to them and not use them as trade value? Hope they keep them. I do think, especially Schwellenbach, but I think they keep both of those guys going forward. Another question here from Matt. He says, I get we have injuries, but honestly, we should make the playoffs based on this pitching alone. They basically need 3 to 4 runs a game. That isn't asking for much, but is it, Matt? With this offense, that kind of is. Even with the injuries, we saw the formula in this Phillies series. If only we could manufacture like 1 run a game. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it should not be a big ask for this offense to score 3 or 4 runs a game. But you're right in the fact that what I hope is that they just do not waste this great pitching staff. Look, pitching can be so finicky from year to year because of injuries, guys making adjustments, hitters figuring guys out if they see them more. This is a really good pitching staff, not just starting pitching, the bullpen as well. And I hope this offense does not waste that this year, because this pitching staff is good enough to win a World Series. They just need the offense to step up a little bit, and this team could be so good. Joshua Root, love the podcast. What do you think happens to the lineup when Ozzie returns? Player most likely to get the bench will be who? Kind of talked about it earlier. I think it just depends on who's hot at that time. If Witt is still hot, then I think maybe you try to find a way to get him in the lineup, whether that's at third over Ashella, maybe he's not hitting well, or in left field if Kelnick and Laureano aren't playing well. I think you just go with whoever the hot hand is at that time whenever Ozzie comes back. All right, got about 5 more questions to get to, including some about Rick Kranitz, Chipper Jones, and more. Daisel Hernandez. We'll answer those questions here next. For those of us who thrive on getting stuff done, including workouts, every minute counts. That's why you need Tonal, the smart strength training system that takes the guesswork out of working out so you can make sure you're making the most of every rep. When life gets busy, fitting in a workout can be stressful. With Tonal, you can get efficient workouts personalized just for you and are available with the amount of time that you have. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps you get stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so that it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. It's like having a personal trainer at home as you use Tonal, as it'll optimize every workout for you. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. All right, last couple of questions here. Dustin Mount says, why does Arcia keep causing unnecessary drama with Harper and the Phillies, like in the playoffs with Attaboy, sticking his tongue out at Phillies fans, Acuna having to reel him back in, and now staring at him after he hit a homer? Is it time to move on from him in the offseason? We've really touched on that, but like I'm with you. And again, I said this earlier. I think the way he handled the things in the postseason was terrible. I don't think it necessarily related to the Braves not winning that series, but certainly it was in his head, and he handled it terrible. I could have done without him staring at Harper in this one. I don't care either way, I guess, but I could have certainly done without it. Chipper says, what do we do about Rick Kranitz being away from the team? Or what do we know about Rick Kranitz being away from the team? Thought it was supposed to be short, but he hasn't returned yet. From what I understand, it's a family issue. I saw Ben Ingram post to somebody on X saying that they've been asked to not say anything about it and that they want to keep it private. So, it's a private matter. Don't know what the issue is. Don't really care. I'm not going to say I don't care. I want the best for whatever's going on with him and his family. But that's really it. We're just praying for him and his family. Hope that it's nothing major. But he's where he needs to be right now. Dustin Mounts, who are you calling up when rosters expand? If up to you, Daysville, AJ Smith-Shawver, Anderson, or someone else, and why that person specifically? I think you bring up an arm. I mean, what other bats are you bringing up? And you don't really use those bats. So the only question is, I think you can only have 13 arms on the roster. So if that's the case and you have to bring up a bat, I'd probably bring up Yuli Gurriel, although you'd have to make a 40-man roster spot for him. If you can bring up a pitcher, I'm bringing up Daysville Hernandez just because I think he's good enough to already be in this bullpen. Large Lar, all your years of covering baseball, do you think this is the most snake-bit team you've covered? I'll be honest, I don't have a great memory, and I've watched a lot of baseball, covered a lot of baseball in my years. Obviously, recency bias. I can't. The number of significant injuries, like it's not like Acuna was out for a month or two. He's out for 4 months. It's not like Spencer Strider missed a month or two. He's missed 5 months. It's not like Michael Harris was out for 3 to 4 weeks. He was out for 2 months. It's not like Austin Riley was out for 2 to 3 weeks. He's been out cumulatively, going to be out, about 2 months this year. It's the players who have gotten injured and the amount of time that they have missed. It's just, I've never seen anything like that. And then combat it with the fact that I think the Braves have been completely unlucky with balls in play this year. And there's data to back that up. It is, again, it is in my mind, just one of those years where nothing has gone this team's way. And yet there's still 9 games over 500, which I think speaks a lot to this team. You look at the Seattle Mariners, who just fired their coach because they're having the same issues that the Braves are, where they have one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball, but they can't score anything for that team. And now they find themselves at 500, 5 games back of the division after they were leading that division by a ton. And now their manager is fired. Last question from Sean Griffin. Now that we got over the hump with the Phillies, what do you think about our chances going forward? Do you think the Braves should soft jog or hard rush to the postseason? What, in your opinion, is the level of difficulty from here on out? I think that, I think the division is still something that you don't really need to concern yourself with at the moment. I know you're going to, because you're playing the Phillies all these games leading up, to the end of August, but just win series. I mean, take it. I know this is coach speak. Take it a day at a time. We just haven't. I have not seen this team play good, consistent baseball for weeks long stretches this year to have enough confidence to say they can come back and win this division. I don't have enough confidence to say they can hold on to this wild card spot, because the Mets are a good team playing really good baseball right now. They just won a series against the Orioles. They went out to San Diego and won first game of that series against them. The Mets are playing really well and have a lot of confidence right now. I need to see this Braves team go on a 2-week stretch. I need to see them consistently winning series. Again, it's not that I don't care. I'm not focused on the division. I'm focused on this Braves team just winning series, playing good baseball, getting a sweep against a team like the Nationals this weekend, a team that you should sweep. That's what I want to see from this Braves team the rest of the way. And that starts This weekend, 3 against Washington, Sale versus Gore on Friday, Morton versus Urban on Saturday, Lopez versus Hertz. Look, the Braves haven't swept a series since the middle of June when they swept the Tigers. You play like you did against the Phillies. In that series, you will sweep the Nationals. The Braves played great in that series. They pitched great, played good defense. Only thing lacking is a little bit more offense, and you would hope that would come against the Nationals pitching staff. All right, thank you all for joining me here today. Thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast where you can prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully. Check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to Nathan Brooks for joining me, Doc's Cards, Jameson Lee, Doug Abelli, Brogglesby, Yuki Matsui, Andrew Manning, Annoyed Hiking King, Reaper YT, Flamethrower, Corey, Floppy, the Harb, Section 12. So many of you joining me here live on a Friday afternoon. Hope you all have a great and fantastic weekend. I hope the Braves get this sweep. I need to see it. I need to see them sweep a team that they should beat. Just handle a team that you should beat. And that has not been the case against the Nationals this year. They have really struggled against the Nationals. Again, on Monday, we'll recap that Nationals series, catch up on everything happening at the minor league level as well. The Braves and Nationals start that series at 7:20 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. It'll be Chris Sale versus Mackenzie Gore. Catch every pitch of the Braves hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Braves. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're new, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, if you made it to the end of the show, thank you so much. And again, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on social media at shortstopball, at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.